right, now we're going to talk about organ system interrelationships. The fact that all cells depend on organ systems to meet their survival needs, and that organ systems work cooperatively to perform necessary life functions. So, we're going to look at both survival needs and necessary life functions to see how vital body functions are parceled out among different organ systems. Here's a quick list of all of the necessary life functions: maintaining boundaries, movement, responsiveness, digestion, metabolism, excretion, reproduction, and growth. So let's start with maintaining boundaries. Now, there needs to be a separation between internal and external environments. That separation must exist. A great example of this is to take the smallest unit of life, the cell, and talk about its plasma membrane, sometimes called the cell membrane. That cell membrane provides a barrier that separates the extracellular or outside environment of the cell from the intracellular or inside environment of the cell. And we also maintain boundaries on a macroscopic level if we were to look at the human body and the integument or the skin, making sure that things on the outside don't necessarily dictate what's going on the inside, or at least not so much so that we have constant changes, because the body really wants to maintain homeostasis or kind of a stable condition internally. Next, we have movement, and really we look at the muscular system for movement, but that's not all we look at. Cells can move using cilia and flagella, but for the most part, in anatomy and physiology, we're looking at eukaryotic cells, which tend to lack as much flagella or cilia, at least for movement. So, muscular system it is. And this allows for the body to move when muscle contracts. When we're talking about the body moving, we're really talking about skeletal muscles contracting across joints in order to move the skeleton. We also get contraction of smooth muscle and cardiac muscle to pump blood and then also move that blood through blood vessels. So this contractility is really referring to movement at the cellular level, but we can see it at the macroscopic level with movement of the body and organs. Another necessary life function is responsiveness, and that's the ability to sense and respond to stimuli. Plants can do this, and of course the human body can do this. Organs can do this, cells can do this. But the ability to respond to a stimulus with an effect or to some type of output. We also have digestion, which is a process of breaking down ingested material. We want to break it down to its smallest possible component. Many of these things are called subunits or monomers. They're very simple molecules that are absorbed into the blood or lymphatic tissue. And since we're talking about digestion, let's go ahead and talk about metabolism. Metabolism includes digestion processes. Digestion processes break down molecules. Those types of reactions are considered catabolic reactions, or a result of catabolism. The reason metabolism is different from digestion is metabolism also includes anabolic reactions, or the synthesis of building molecules. So catabolism and anabolism make up the chemical reactions that we call metabolism inside our body cells. A very simple definition for metabolism is the sum of all the chemical reactions that occur in the body. So it's both building and breaking down. There's also excretion as a necessary life function. That's just the removal of waste from metabolism and digestion. Those processes that build and break down do produce waste products. Urea, carbon dioxide, feces, all of these are waste products. That means that the urinary system, the digestive system, and the respiratory system are all excretory systems. All right, we can also finish up talking about necessary life functions by looking at reproduction and growth. We can kind of tack on development here as well. A lot of times, growth and development go together. With reproduction at the cellular level, we're going to see both the copying of cells via a process called mitosis, which is for growth and repair, or on the organismal level, we can look at sexual reproduction, and that's going to be the production of offspring, beginning with the fusion of two sex cells. When they come together, fertilization leads to the formation of a zygote, which later will be offspring. And then with growth, we can look at it at the cellular and macroscopic level as well. With growth of cells, they get bigger as they grow. When they get too big, they divide or reproduce. And then tissues and organs grow by adding cells or creating more cells. and that allows for an organism like the human being to grow as well. Next, what we're seeing here is a quick guide, just kind of running through all those necessary life functions, looking at things like maintaining boundaries, movement, excretion, metabolism, growth and reproduction, responsiveness, things like control of breathing rate, so that prevents breath holding indefinitely. Things like the 3 excretion systems, urinary, digestive, and respiratory systems, and growth that can be both microscopic and macroscopic. So this is a really good slide to come back to for study purposes. So when we're talking about necessary life functions, we can mention things about cells, we can talk about other organisms, bacteria, prokaryotes, but really in this course, our focus is on the human being. And humans have eukaryotic cells that have a true nucleus. They have many of these cells that come together and form tissues. So by all means, humans are multicellular organisms. So to function, these cells have to work together to keep us alive. And these cells are developed and processed and organized into tissues. These tissues are organized into organs, and organs make up organ systems. And these organ systems made up of organs and cells, and if we want to get even smaller, things like organelles and molecules and atoms, they're designed to service the human body. So all cells depend on organ systems to meet their survival needs. And there's 11 organ systems that work together to maintain life. So let's take a quick look at some of those organ systems. So first we have the skin. That's kind of its nickname, but it would more clinically go by the integumentary system. Because when we think skin, we think epithelial tissue. But the integumentary system is much more. It's a layer of epithelial tissue, but under it is a lot of connective tissue and blood vessels and nerves and glands and even hair follicles, among other things. So in general, it's an external body covering that provides protection, but we're going to have a whole chapter about the integumentary system because it's so much more. Then there's the skeletal system, so your bones. It provides protection and support for body organs like your rib cage, protecting your heart and your lungs. It does provide muscle attachment points via tendons. Skeletal muscles actually attach to bone. Inside of many bones, there's blood cell formation, a process called hematopoiesis. Hemat or hemato meaning blood, and poiesis meaning generation or production. So hematopoiesis is blood cell production or formation. It also stores many minerals like calcium phosphate salts called hydroxyapatite. And it also can store fat. Moving on and looking at the muscular system, that's where we see movement. It helps maintain posture, produces heat from small contractions. And then the nervous system, which actually innervates much of the muscular system, is really fast acting to control much of the body, including the muscular system and other organs. It responds to internal and external stimuli using electrical impulses. Another communicating system, along with the nervous system, is the endocrine system. So you could say those two, number 4 and 5, the nervous and endocrine system, are the major communicating systems of the body. The nervous system does work faster, but the endocrine system can work for longer, prolonged periods. And it's responsible for releasing hormones that can regulate things like growth, reproduction, metabolism. And then we have the cardiovascular system, which we've used a lot as examples for what is an organ system, what's coming together, what are we looking at. But the cardiovascular system is primarily made up of the heart and blood vessels. It helps transport materials in the body via the blood due to force created by the heart contracting, by it pumping. Things it moves around via the blood include oxygen, carbon dioxide, called the respiratory gases, and nutrients and waste. So these are just some of the body systems, but we have a little bit more. There's the lymphatic system, which oftentimes is written as lymphatic/immune, because many of the immune cells in the body live in the lymphatic tissues and canals. The lymphatic system's job, though, however, is really just to return leaked fluid from the circulatory system back to the circulatory system. So it cleanses the blood and uses things like the spleen and the tonsils, and therefore it is also involved in immunity and can help activate the immune system. We also have the respiratory system, one of our excretory systems, along with the digestive and urinary system. So all 3 of these systems eliminate something like carbon dioxide, indigestible foodstuffs, urea, which is a nitrogenous waste, but they eliminate something. The respiratory system also helps keep the blood supplied with oxygen, and it's removing carbon dioxide as a waste product. It's a waste product of cellular respiration, or what cells produce when they use oxygen. The digestive system we've talked about a little bit already, but really as a process, the digestive system helps carry out the process of digestion. It allows us to break down food and allows for nutrient absorption in the blood and elimination of indigestible foodstuffs. There's a whole chapter about it in your textbook, so more to come as you move through Anatomy and Physiology 1, then 2. And the urinary system eliminates nitrogenous waste, like urea. Other organisms have things like uric acid, but we have a nitrogenous waste called urea. It also produces hormones. The kidneys produce things like erythropoietin, which regulates blood cell production, and renin, which helps with blood pressure. But it also regulates water and electrolyte levels, so it maintains acid-base balance, or your pH. And then, last but not least, you have the reproductive system, which is a whole system with many different hormones produced and regulations in tubes and structures and glands. But we'll very simply just define it now as a system that differs between male and female and produces offspring. So with that overview, we can take a quick look at how these systems are interrelated. They definitely help each other and work together. The digestive system, for example, helps break down nutrients into small components that can be absorbed from the digestive tract into the blood. Then those nutrients can travel all over the body using the cardiovascular system and get to different cells that need them. The heart pumps blood all over the body and takes oxygen from the respiratory system and brings it to cells that need them. And then carbon dioxide, as a waste product from cells, makes it back to the respiratory system. And last but not least, any nitrogenous waste that are not CO2 or other waste products that are in excess can exit the body using the urinary system. So this is just one quick look at how many of the body systems are interrelated. So we're going to continue on and talk about survival needs in the next video.